The introductory chapter to Life is Strange is perfect. Now, a lot of people say to me, Hebi, things can't be perfect. You should stop saying that. They can't be entirely without fault or defect. Nothing can satisfy all requirements. Read the dictionary, dum-dum. Also, I hate you. To which I say, maybe you should read the definition. In Merriam-Webster's dictionary, a definition of perfect as an adjective can be corresponding to an ideal standard or abstract concept. To further my point, synonyms include ideal, terrific, great, impeccable, polished, exceptional, fabulous, first class, grand, and dandy. So now that I have thoroughly schooled all of my detractors, let's go to another school. We will now go through the events, section by section, of the introductory chapter of Life is Strange. And while doing this, engaging in a close reading of 4 major narrative elements that the writers and designers executed with impeccable efficacy. These 4 elements are as follows: conflict, dynamic world building, characterization, and mechanics. And just as a final note, to be absolutely clear, for the purposes of this video, I will not be drawing comparisons between Life is Strange and other video games. I do not feel super hyped about the prospect of ping-ponging between heuristics and over-analysis of what would ultimately be just not the fucking point of the video at all. The point of this video is to scrutinize a game that does an exceptional job of a thing. It should serve as a useful guide for writers, prospective writers, or people just dang interested in narrative analysis. So without further ado, dear reader, it all began one autumnal day in the sleepy fictional town of Arcadia Bay.
Where am I? What's happening?
That's a great question, Max. Where are we, and what is happening? We are at once in Max's shoes. We are relating to her as a protagonist and as a player character. I'm not being facetious. I really do think that's kind of a fun way to start things off. And just as we crest the hill, we turn the... Oh, God, no. Oh, not like this, please. That's what we in the literary world like to call a big ol' uh-oh. If I saw a world-ending tornado approaching a town, I'd probably say, uh-oh, not like this. Right off the bat, we have our stakes. This is a big ol' uh-oh that we are either going to have to confront metaphorically or physically, literally. And just as we are about to be flattenated by the crumbling lighthouse, kablamo! We are now in the school zone.
Okay, I'm in class. Everything's cool. I am okay.
Now take a big flippin' inhale while you can, because just in this scene, there is a lot that is about to happen to us. Let's just start by talking about the characterization of the characters. Max is very insecure about her abilities as a photographer, and just kind of in general. We see a puffy-eyed girl get paper popped by a mean girl. Now with the teacher, we get several things. We get that he's very casual, sitting on the desk like that. He's your friend, he's your pal, not just your teacher. He has very questionable wardrobe sensibilities. All in all, seems kind of like a Dringisberg. This guy's not paying attention. She's probably taking too many notes. And then there's the queen bee mean girl herself.
I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of her work. I prefer Robert Frank.
We get that Max is kind of a freakazoid for taking a selfie on a Polaroid camera in the middle of our teacher's lecture. To which the teacher is like, hey, why the fuck did you do that? I was in the middle of giving a lecture about photography junk. Now you have to answer one of my riddles. And Max does not know the answer to the riddle. But you know who does know?
Louis Daguerre was a French painter who created daguerreotypes, a process that gave portraits a sharp reflective style like a mirror. Now you're totally stuck in the retro zone. Sad face.
Gag me with a real life-sized lighthouse. And then once the bell rings, we can have a conversation with Kate and see very clearly that she is using an internal Bastille to keep from absolutely breaking in front of us. She's having a hard time, gang. We talk to Mr. Jefferson, the stern but still believes in our potential teacher, and of course get some more characterization of mean girl Victoria Chase. All right, sheesh. They were able to pack a lot of information into that one little scene, am I right, gang? I guess it's time to move on and talk about the next scene. Do you think this is a joke? You should think this is a game, because we haven't even talked about how we interact with the mechanics yet, or how the mechanics interact with the characterizations, world building, and conflicts within the narrative. Do you see it? Do you see it? There are things on your desk. Oh, the things that there are. There are things on the shelves, things on the wall, things on the phones, the computers, in the hall.
Man, he even has the best plasma HDTV for a class monitor.
Basic point is, one of the core mechanics of this game, while not very novel, is walking up to a highlighted thing, pressing a button on it, and being rewarded with a piece of information. Now these vary from micro bits of world building, flavor text via Max's inner monologue, to big-time characters we have not yet met. Let's just take a brief tour through Max's journal. Max loves October. She has the kind of relationship with Kate where Kate lets her borrow some of her favorite books. Warren's her geeky friend. The last time she wore a Halloween costume was with Chloe. Well, who's Chloe? Chloe is Max's childhood friend. They've been estranged ever since Max moved to Seattle 5 years ago. Max is from Arcadia Bay. This Blackwell Academy is apparently a pretty big deal. Your teacher, Mr. Jefferson, is a well-renowned photographer. Max might maybe have a crush on him. There's some Victoria-adjacent jerk named Nathan Prescott, whose family apparently owns the town. There's information about this potential conflict with the Everyday Heroes photo contest, where the winner gets a trip to San Francisco and lots of publicity. I'm pretty sure Max would want some of that action. There's a physics teacher, Mrs. Grant, who is apparently pretty cool and very good at explaining particle physics. Now, you can make the argument that audio logs and on-screen text aren't exactly the most compelling way to tell a narrative, that it's a very passive way to tell the story. But for the most part, I kind of disagree, especially when you're talking about a game that is putting all of its chips into you being invested in the story. This isn't a movie. This is a different medium. It's a video game. In movies, we show, don't tell, right? That's the typical rule. But video games are interactive. There are many different tools we can use to tell this story. We have dialogue, we have the visuals, and we can have other supplemental materials like journals, flyers, text messages with people. That's getting intimate. I really like that. I like how we are becoming Max. We can look through her text messages. We can see what kind of relationships she has with other people, with her parents, with her classmates right off the bat. I think that's fun, and it is a form of telling a story in a video game that gets us more invested and immersed in Max. But I digress. So what have we learned from this class zone scene? Well, we've gotten a lot of characterization for our various classmates as well as the teacher. We've interacted with the game on a very fundamental, basic mechanical level. We've been introduced to a variety of potential conflicts, and we have seen a lot of heavy lifting in the world-building department. And we have only just started, because next comes this fun Donnie Darko-esque, ear-budded musical montage of the high school hallway filled with all of the relevant classmates that you'll get to know throughout the rest of the game. So let's start off with something typically unconventional. Now, in the world of film, narration is considered a bit lowbrow.
And God help you if you use voiceover in your work, my friends. God help you.
But this is video games, a different medium, because we're playing as Max. She's our avatar in this world. She has drives, and likes and dislikes. So it's kind of a useful tool for us, the players, to get this inner monologue from Max. It helps put us more into her shoes, get more immersed, and be able to roleplay her better.
Dana is on my floor too. She's such an archetypal, gorgeous cheerleader. They must make them in a factory. I shouldn't be so catty. Dana is nice to me. I've seen Brooke hanging out with Warren. She seems like his type.
Are you ready for more stuffs? What are all these similar looking flyers doing around that I can interact with? Missing person poster. You don't say. And then you keep going and there's more. There's more and more. There's more and more and more. There is so more that I think you can kind of get the idea that we have introduced a B plot. This is going to be another mystery for us to solve. Mysteries, mysteries, mysteries that need to be solved. But if we play our cards right as Max, we might discover the truth.
That was very smart, dumbass. No can reach.
It isn't until the next scene in the bathroom when the junk hits the can. Max enters the bathroom. She splashes water on her face to remind herself that this is not, in fact, a dream. Then, all of a sudden, we are back in the danger zone. A brown-jacketed boy enters the bathroom and starts to have a thorough mind break.
It's cool, Nathan. Don't stress. You're okay, bro. Just count to 3. Don't be scared. You own this school. If I wanted, I could blow it up. You're the boss.
There is now tension. Enter blue-haired beanie.
I got nothing for you.
Wrong. You got hella cash.
That's my family, not me.
Oh, boo-hoo, poor little rich kid. I know you've been pumping drugs and shit to kids around here. I bet your respectable family would help me out if I went to them.
Within 1 or 2 sentences, we already have a conflict between these two people. Blue-haired beanie is blackmailing brown-jacketed boy.
You don't know who the fuck I am or who you're messing around with.
Where'd you get that? What are you doing? Come on, put that thing down!
Don't ever tell me what to do. I'm so sick of people trying to control me. Nobody would ever even miss your punk ass, would they?
Get that gun away from me, psycho!
No!
And it is immediately after this, our true inciting incident, that we are introduced to what is the pivotal element of this game, the thing that sets it apart from other story-based point-and-click games. Max reverses time.
Whoa. What the fuck?
And we are back in the class zone.
I already heard this lecture.
From light to shadow, from color.
Now Kate is being hassled again. And if Victoria's phone rings, this is real.
Now,
Shit!
Max tries to reckon with what just happened, and we as players get to do the mechanic of time travel now. We get to unbreak Max's camera. Now, this is important because this is introducing us to one of the main ways you are going to be using this mechanic. Max in this game goofs up a lot and breaks stuff. Sometimes it's stuff you do not want to have broked and need to do a time reversal. And really, for the player and for Max, that is an exciting prospect. If we mess up, we can just undo it. Then we get the all too familiar riddle from Mr. Jefferson again.
now, Max, since you've captured our interest and clearly want to join the conversation, can you please tell us the name of the process that gave birth to the first self-portraits?
And then another light bulb goes off, both for you as a player and for Max. Again, you guys have been together this whole time. I don't think there's been a single instance, besides like if you didn't agree with her musical taste or something, that the player and Max are not in lockstep with each other. You are on the same page. You are experiencing things at the same time, which is really awesome on an immersive level.
The Daguerrean process, invented by a French painter named Louis Daguerre around 1830.
Somebody has been reading as well as posing. Nice work, Max.
We fucking speed run through class because we have places to be. We gotta save blue-haired beanie. Come on, chop chop. You gotta save her from getting shootinated. Shootinated. This is what happens when we do it all off the cuff, you know? You beeline for the door and are stopped by Mr. Jefferson again. And honestly, Mr. Jefferson, what the heck do you need? You make several conversation mistakes and realize that took a lot of time. I might be too late. So now we are introduced to the second main way that Max will be using her time reversal powers. And that way is having a conversation with someone, getting new information from them, rewinding time, saying the exact right things to say so that you can solve the mysteries of this world. Mystery. You reverse back to the point where you had it straight for the door. This time you sprint up to Mr. Jefferson. He starts to open his mouth and you verbatim say everything he was just thinking.
I'm on top of it. I think John Lennon once said that life is what happens while you're busy making other plans.
And now we've gotten to the third main way that Max can use her powers, which is stopping somebody from dying. That's a big power, especially in these types of games. Imagine having that power in The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us. Anyway, back to Life is Strange. You solve the puzzle. You figure out a way for Max to save blue-haired Beanie from getting killed by Brown Jacket Boy. We exit the bathroom. We have an altercation with a new character, the security man's. He says some questionable things to a high school student.
Hey, do you hear that fire alarm? That means you should be outside.
I had to use the bathroom.
Girls always use that excuse.
The fire alarm's going off. What? Why are you hassling me, dude? You have a conversation with the principal, another new character, and at the end of the conversation with the principal, we are introduced to the final way that Max's power will be used in this game.
Or have you done something wrong? Is that it? Well, Max, talk to me.
This moment is the first boss fight of Life is Strange. This choice is the Udex Gundyr of Life is Strange. So what's it gonna be, Max? Are you gonna be a narc? Or are you gonna tell the principal what's for?
I just saw Nathan Prescott waving a gun around in the girls' room.
Mr. Prescott happens to be from the town's most distinguished family, and one of Blackwell's most honored students. So it's hard for me to see him brandishing a weapon in the girls' bathroom.
Of course this academic drone won't do anything, since the Prescott family owns Blackwell now. Should I rewind and change my story?
This is one of my favorite things in this game. When you make these big decisions, Max has this internal monologue of like, oh, I think I've just fucked that up. She doubts herself and has the same thoughts that you as the player might be having. And not only that, you can reverse time to make the other decision. I don't know if they intended this, but this is a really fun way to get around the thing that all of us did anyway in these narrative choice-based games, which is reload the save to make the other choice just to see what happens. But then after this grueling boss battle, you're finally free. This is the end of the introductory chapter of Life is Strange. So what do we know? Why the dang heck was this so good? Why was it perfect? I'll tell you why it's perfect. Let's revisit the 4 pillars that I introduced towards the beginning. Conflict, dynamic world building, characterization, and mechanics. I played through the introductory chapter multiple times and tallied all of the things that pertain to these categories. There are 3 main conflicts: Max against the Storm, the drug blackmailing, which is Max against the Prescotts, the missing person, and Rachel Amber. There are also 4 sub-conflicts: the Everyday Heroes competition, potentially Max against Victoria, the internal conflict of Max's self-esteem, a characters versus character with Kate's bullying, and of course, Max against the school at the end. Then there are the number of world-building interactables. In total, there are 25 objects you can interact with that add some sort of information or flavor to the world and characters. In the classroom, there are 18. In the hallway, there are 7. This is taking into account the redundancies like the missing persons posters. And let's not forget the varying degrees of information we get from each. We may count the journal and the text messages as only 2 interactables, but they may as well count as like 30.
Did we talk at all today?
This is the first time. What's wrong?
If I want to be an everyday hero, I better go save that girl. That girl needs your help now. That girl is going to get shot unless you go. Brooke has no idea of the shit going on right now.
In terms of characters, we are introduced to a total of 26 named characters. As for the main cast, and or characters we at least have some level of social interaction with, there are 9. We, of course, count Max. Then there's Kate, Mr. Jefferson, Victoria, Chloe, Warren, Nathan, Madsen, and Wells. And as for mechanics, the game establishes all 7 ways Max will be interacting with the world throughout the game. These include Max's ability to interact with objects in the world around her, dialogue choices, all 4 ways that Max will be using the time reversal mechanic, and something I forgot to touch on earlier, which is the minigame of taking all of the optional photos to fill out your photo decks. To further the evidence of the narrative proficiency on display, I did 3 distinct playthroughs of the introduction. This was to take into account the variety of types of players that may be playing this game. The first of which is the completionist, somebody who interacts with every object, explores every nook and cranny in the game. The second is what I would call an average player, someone who interacts with some things, but mostly follows through on the main objectives. And the third being rush lords that just beeline for every main objective without stopping to look or digest anything that is going on around them. The completionist playtime clocked in at 31 minutes and 21 seconds. The average player playtime came in at 27 minutes exactly. And as for the bonkoid rushers, 17 minutes and 49 seconds. In my quote-unquote average player playthrough, I experienced 7 conflicts, 13 world-building interactables, including the journal and the text messages, 21 characters, 9 of which are potentially major players, and 6 ways that I will be interacting with the world through the mechanics. All in the measly span of 27 minutes. That is absurd. It is reprehensible flexing. It is perfect. To conclude, I would just like to say that, in all seriousness, I really do think the introductory chapter to this game is a huge part of why the story ends up being so successful in the later parts of the game. It's like a good first episode of a television show, you know? Once you have done the work of setting up the major players, the conflicts, the world, then you just get to have fun and play with all those elements and expand upon them. Like, you don't have to circle back because, oh shoot, we forgot to even mention that Kate was getting bullied. Now we have to take time from something else to even introduce that plotline. Now, that's not to say that you can never introduce new conflicts. It's just that with something like Life is Strange, which for all intents and purposes is like a limited series, when you have planted the seeds for all your major uh-ohs from the beginning, you're by default gonna have a constant forward momentum, which essentially means that stakes are gonna be rising as opposed to starting. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. I hope you thought it was fun or educational or just something to have on while you're falling asleep or doing work. But actually, before I finish, there's something I want to ask you guys as players when you're playing these types of games that I think could be kind of interesting to discuss. When you play these story-based games, do you tend to make decisions based off of what you would do in the situation? Or do you slip more into the shoes of the protagonist, make decisions based off of what you think they would do in this situation? I don't know. I think that could be an interesting thing to discuss. So, yeah, leave a comment in the comment section below if you want to answer my riddle. If you want more videos of me and my sass mouth, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, yada yada. You heard it before. But I trust you will make the right decision. Just remember, don't be a narc, and goodbye.